2025 Tasmanian Improved Production Championship kicked off with round 1 up at Symmons Plains. The defending champions in the over and under 2 litre categories were both not defending their crowns this year, leaving the door open for a pair of new champions. Mary White had been one of the steady improvers in the class and was sponsoring round 1 with her business Mary's Skincare. In her debut season, she finished 3rd in the under 2 litre championship and last year finished 2nd, so she was hoping to go one better this time round. Hayden Lovell and Scott Arthur were both running in their late model Commodores, Lovell's a 5.7 and Arthur's a 6 litre, the latter sharing a pit garage with Andrew Colquhoun's 6 litre Falcon. Richard Morgan had been competing in super sprints, but for this year moved into improved production with his VH Commodore. Another new competitor this year was Stephen Smith in his SR20 turboed Datsun 120Y. Other turbo entrants included Matthew Grace, Lee Forrest and Matt Howe, while the other under 2 litre entrants were Kyle Smith, Daryl Bennett and John Madigan, who had an upgraded engine in his Alpha Sud. The early morning practice session was cancelled due to an ambulance not showing up to the track. Therefore, the first on-track session for the drivers this year was qualifying. This was disastrous for Colquhoun, who needed to bed brakes in, which he planned to do in the now cancelled practice session. He therefore didn't set a representative time and qualified at the back of the field. Another unlucky competitor was John Madigan, whose new Alpha motor only lasted a couple of laps before it spun a bearing. But credit to John, he didn't pack up and go home. He assisted with flagging for the rest of the meeting. Grace set the pace with a 58.5, with Forrest just a couple of tenths back, although he pushed hard to try and make up the deficit. Scott Arthur and Richard Morgan completed a Commodore lockout for the second row, just ahead of Matt Howe and Kyle Smith in the first under 2 litre car. Next was Lovell's Commodore. Then Mary White's Mirage Cyborg. Next was Stephen Smith, who had a misfire in his 120Y and didn't set a representative lap time. Also sharing the 5th row was Colquhoun, who had been bedding in brakes. Rounding out the field was Madigan, who was out for the rest of the weekend, and Bennett, who was steadily gathering points in his trusty Suzuki Swift while he waited for his Toyota 86's electrical gremlins to be sorted out. Matt Howe wouldn't line up for race 1. The stock intercooler piping on his BMW had a minor split, with the ECU unable to control boost levels. There was a short delay before the start of race 1. Forrest's window net had become unclipped, and with assistance from the most enthusiastic grid marshal in the world, Paul Giddings, the field was ready to get underway, although the race would barely last a lap. On the opening lap, Hayden Lovell lunged an engine badly, the motor seizing up as he coasted towards the hairpin. Stephen Smith was also a casualty from the first start. He pulled into the pits to try and cure his terrible misfire. Due to the dangerous location of Lovell's car, the race was red flagged and restarted a short time later. When race 1 restarted, it was Forrest who got the jump on Grace, the pair having a great dice throughout much of the race.
John Kelly Jackson 1200 on that car. They were ready to continue the race. Stands fantastic. engine run out of road. I think the road is on top of the big road circuit out there on the outside, but you've got the common back on the circuit there, running all over the road out.
After a steady run, Morgan eventually dropped back and retired with fuel pump problems. On lap 5, Forrest was braking into the hairpin when the crankshaft in his Celica let go and punched several holes in the 3S block. Large chunks of engine block and litres of oil now littered the hairpin, catching out Mary White. Unfortunately, half of those that qualified either didn't start or finish race 1. Thankfully, there would be no more attrition and several competitors were able to fix their cars and join the field again across the weekend. Morgan fixed his fuel pump issue and started race 2, while Stephen Smith started race 2 in his 120Y, but this time had a broken diff as well as the recurring misfire. For race 2, enjoy the sights and sounds of the varied and diverse Tasmanian improved production cars.
Daryl Bennett dropping line.
Stay tuned for Sunday's races, which featured one of the most chaotic starts in recent improved production memory. That video is one not to be missed and will be uploaded shortly.